Okay, so I missed our break off point, but this is going to be very short and sweet. So we left off with this happy gentleman and child, and what's happening, and we're hoping that this child is not a kidnap victim. And this is a father-son just out hanging out at the park. So again, we all could have guessed something different, and whatever we guessed is probably based upon some expectation that we have or assumption that we have. Yes, I'm going to explain mine right now in regard to, again, this man possibly kidnapping this child. I watch a lot of Dateline. I watch a lot of true crime. I watch a lot or listen to a lot of yeah, true crime podcasts. So my brain is really colored by that information. And so in some situations, my brain goes there. Hopefully, most people's don't. Most people's go to what is to be expected, and this is a father and son out for a good time. They're probably going to go get ice cream later. And so again, we don't know who's right or who's wrong, but our brain's going to fill in missing pieces because we don't have all of the information. And so again, this is where we're getting all of this information from is again our past experiences. Okay, I don't have any experience with kidnapping. I just again listen to a lot of podcasts. Again, our culture. What is expected in our culture? Again, even in regard to this picture, what do let's say this is we assume it's a father and son. What do would they commonly do together? The culture I come from is okay, maybe they do. They go to the park, they go get ice cream, it's a good time, maybe they go for a drive or work on a car. Great. Okay. How do we perceive the concept of family? Again, maybe it's a father and son. Maybe it's two cousins, maybe it's an uncle and a nephew. Okay, we can go into beliefs, we can get into emotions based upon their facial expression. What emotions are they experiencing right now? Again, what are we expecting? What type of knowledge do we have? And because of all of that, our brain makes this automatic assumption as to what is happening in that picture because again, it will use as much information as it has, and then if there are gaps, it will fill it. It will fill those gaps. And again, we can think about these gaps that the brain fills because biologically speaking, and again, this is, and just for a second, tangent for a second, there is a blind spot in our field of vision. There is one spot on our retina that has no cones and no rods, and as a result of that, it does not reflect any light and does not um, no, transform light energy into information the brain can interpret because that is where the optic nerve leaves the eye. And as a result of that, we literally have a blind spot in the middle of our vision. But because of what the brain does in filling in gaps, you do not perceive that blind spot. The brain fills it in what is it assumes should be in that blind spot of your vision. Because of all of these things, our brain fills in these blind spots. So, again, you can look at this and it's interesting to think about which of these influences do you think affects people the most? And it's going to depend. And can two people have the same experience but different paths? Absolutely. And how might that change what they notice? It could change everything. Again, we're not approaching situations as blank slates. We just don't. Even if it's something we know nothing about, we're not approaching it as a blank slate. Every interpretation is going to be filtered through who we are and what we've experienced. And that's how we will interpret the situation, even if it's not correct. So just a few things here. Again, we don't react directly to events. We react to what we believe those events mean. So again, my friend didn't text me back. So a possible interpretation, again, they're mad, they're busy, they forgot, their phone died. And again, the event's the same thing. Forgive me for a second. There's a video conversion happening. Um, the event is identical here. But the interpretation produces a different emotional response. Again, if my friend doesn't text me back and I interpret that they're mad, I might experience fear. If I interpret that they're busy, I might be irritated. If I interpret that or perceive that they forgot, I might get angry. If I interpret that their phone died, I might be passive. So again, it's the same situation, different interpretation, different emotional response. So again, we're not directly reacting to an event. We react to what we believe these events mean. And again, we probably assume somebody has been upset with us only to find that they were just busy, or we've misunderstood a text, or misunderstood something that we said. And it's not the events that determine our reaction, it's our interpretation of the event that determines our reaction. And we don't usually recognize that we are actually interpreting it. We think we're observing it. We think we're experiencing the event as it is. But as this chapter has shown, we're not observing it as it is. We're interpreting it as we are. So really our intuition, again, our intuition and the our subjective construal of the world and this issue of naive realism feels right because our interpretation feels like facts. But here you go. Here's another one. And again, you can, instead of unknown, you can put whoever's name in here. But you get a text message, we need to talk. What's happening here? Who sent this? Is this good news, bad news? And what assumptions do you make? And you can pause this if you want. I'm going to keep talking. So again, here's the thing is if we shared these our experience of this, everybody's going to probably interpret this text message a little bit differently. This text message to me elicits an immense amount of fear. I might have a panic attack. Other people might be excited that that you're going to have a conversation. You might be excited that you're getting this message. And again, this message is what it is, what it is. It's our interpretation of it that may shift. And it might shift as well if you change the name of the sender. And again, this in and of itself is subjective construal. Okay, quick thing on why eyewitnesses disagree. So again, when it comes to eyewitnesses, just because eyewitnesses disagree, it doesn't mean they're dishonest. Witnesses will commonly notice different details, and interpretation does begin immediately um, when a crime situation occurs. Um, and so, okay, so again, same event, different stories in regard to eyewitnesses. Now, there are some differences here, and we're going to get more into it as time goes on here, but there's different attention. Different individuals may be paying attention to different things. Let's say somebody's purse is snatched and there are multiple eyewitnesses. Somebody might have been paying attention to the purse. Somebody might have been paying attention to the person who snatched it. Somebody might have been there, but they were just watching people run. So they may have been attending to different things at the situation, and there might have been different interpretations of the event. Who was the person that actually snatched the purse? Were they wearing a green shirt? Were they wearing a blue shirt? How fast were they running? Were there two of them? How violent was it actually? And then there's different memories, and we're going to spend a chapter on memory because again, we can sometimes assume that memory is like a video camera in that it records reality as it is, and then we just regurgitate it as it was, and that's just not it. And that we construct memory, and then the recall of memory is actually reconstructed differently than than the initial construction was. And so, What should we do with this? Okay. And so, yes, I'm sure you could come to this conclusion, but again, I don't want you to distrust yourself. I just want you to become more curious, more than anything. And before you react, okay, think about what assumptions are you making? Are you missing some information possibly in this situation? And is there something about this situation that could be interpreted differently by somebody else? And as a result of that, should I take more time to collect additional information because before I make a judgment or a conclusion or an assumption? Curiosity is going to be much more valuable than certainty. And so, the next class that we have, again, we're going to talk about how much of this interpretation of the world, again, happens before we're even aware of it. And so, we'll talk about automaticity and priming, and I will see you then.